Hello, everybody. I don't know if there's anybody on this call at the moment, but I see that there are about 17 people floating around at the moment, which is fantastic. And I'm going to put my note function on and see if anybody can say hello to me, because I'd love to hear something from somebody, just so that I know that I'm not speaking into complete space. So I put on my note function. I don't know if you can all do the same, but please do, or my chat function. Because I'd like to know who's around. Yes, somebody said hello from Italy. Hello from Canada. Fabulous. There are a few people around and about. And I see that we've now got about 18 people. I'm gonna hang on for about another minute before I leap in and just see who else would like to join us. But thank you for all of you who's saying hello. North Carolina, this is fabulous. You're from all over the show, which is great. Madrid. And I wonder if anybody's attended my course last time. I'd love to hear. Oh, somebody from London. Hello, because obviously I'm based in the UK as well. Yes, what is the time? I've got to keep looking at my screen, and with 3 minutes past, I think we can start. Hello from Germany. Has anybody been on one of my webinars before? Because the only reason I'm asking you that is there's the couple of things that I repeat from the last webinar, so forgive me if I do. It's just that it's really important stuff when it comes to thriving. So I think that I am first time for me. Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. Lovely to have you chatting, and please keep chatting away in the background. And then, of course, you know, there's a Q&A function. So if anybody wants to ask any questions, please pop them into the Q&A function, and I will check the Q&A function, you know, nearish the end, and then we will deal with any of the questions coming up. But please fire questions away. But, you know, lovely if you can chat away in the chat function as well, especially if I ask you a question, do answer it. It's always lovely to feel that people are participating. Second time at my webinar. Lovely. Thanks for coming back. And as I say, apologies if I repeat myself. Right, so this webinar is all about how to thrive at work and beyond. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to focus on some 3 separate areas. You know, thriving is the study of how individuals and organizations thrive is what positive psychology is all about. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about comes from positive psychology and the research that's gone into what is going to help individuals and organizations thrive. So as I said, I'm going to split it into 3 areas. I'm going to talk about physical self-care, because if we're not looking after ourselves physically, our ability to thrive, our ability to be the best version of ourselves is completely compromised. So I'll just run through the sort of some basic principles of what it takes to thrive physically, most of which you'll know, but it's always worth being reminded of. So that's my first section. My second section is going to be all about how to nurture your, how to commit to emotional self-care. So what does it take to stay emotionally strong? And in that section, I'm going to be focusing on resilience and how we can be resilient and what we can do to help ourselves be resilient, and what are the things that resilient people do that we should think about doing as well. And then the last section is all about nurturing your mental self-care. So how you can be mentally the strongest person. So how you can stay focused, how you can stay crisp, how you can stay strategic, because those 3 areas are the 3 sort of key areas if you want to thrive at work. Physical self-care, emotional self-care, particularly in the context of resilience, and then mental self-care, how you can stay on your game. So I'm going to leap in and start talking at you. As I say, please chat away in the chat function if you'd like to, and throw some questions at me as well, which I will deal with at the end. So physical self-care. So physical self-care, as I said earlier, is absolutely fundamental. If we're not looking after ourselves physically, it's going to be really tough to thrive. And there are a couple of basic things that I think we should all think about. So I talk about sweeping, which is SWEEB. And apologies if you've heard this before, but I'm going to say it again. So it's sweeping, SWEEB. So what do those 5 things stand for, and why are they so important? So the first one is sleep. The second one is water, eating, exercise, and breathing. So these to me are the 5 important building blocks if you're going to stay physically strong and focused. Sleeping. Well, we all need to commit to good sleep hygiene, don't we? We all know the rules. You know, we should try and get 6 to 8 hours sleep. Lack of sleep causes a huge amount of stress. It causes muddled thinking. It can lead to Alzheimer's. There are lots of reasons why sleep is so important. If you are somebody who doesn't sleep particularly well, or you have young children, or there are reasons why, you know, you travel, so there's lots of jet lag, there are reasons why your sleep is compromised, I would seriously think about committing to meditation. So meditation is going to help you hugely when it comes to giving your brain that all-important break. So I do meditation. I do meditation every morning, and I only do it for 4 or 5 minutes, but it's just enough to give my brain that break and clear a bit of the gunk that's going on in my brain. So if you don't get enough sleep, try and get into some meditation, mindfulness, use the Calm app, whatever it is. Basic stuff I know, but just commit to that. So that's your sleeping in my sweep. The next one is water. You need to stay hydrated. All basic stuff I know, but if you're not hydrated, your ability to think clearly is going to be compromised, and your ability to feel okay is compromised. It's basic stuff, but it really can make a difference. Eating and exercise. Eating, you know, you don't all have to be clean eating freaks. You don't have to live on avocados. You don't have to be vegans, though vegans are great. But if you can not eat too much sugar, not eat too many white carbs, all of those are going to help you feel better about you, help you stay fit and strong and well. So do what you can. It's all about balance, but do what you can to eat sensibly. Exercise, we all know, is fundamental. And if you can include some energetic exercise, it just gets those endorphins pumping. So endorphins are the feel-good hormone, and when you're exercising, you get endorphins. Again, you probably know all of this, but just worth reminding you of it. So that's your endorphins, and that's your exercise. So sleeping, water, eating, exercise, and then the last one is breathing. Now, why is breathing so important if you're going to thrive? Well, breathing is terribly important for lots of reasons. Of course, breathing keeps us alive, but actually long, slow, steady breaths are essential if you don't want to get too stressed, if you don't want your cortisol levels to be too high, if you don't want your adrenals to be pumping too hard. Long, slow, steady breaths is what calms you down. And that's why things like meditation, the Calm app, etc., are so important, because they help you to do that. So, and of course, if you do all know what cortisol is. Cortisol is the stress hormone. It's the hormone that floods your brain when you are panicking. It's the hormone that creates the fight and flight response in us. Cortisol is useful if you've got a hairy mammoth chasing you. It's useful if you know, it's late at night and somebody's chasing you. It's not useful to have cortisol pumping through your body all the time and flooding your brain, because if it floods your brain, it actually stops you thinking clearly. And one of the best ways to get rid of cortisol that's building up in your brain when you are busy and stressed and worried, etc., is by breathing. And there are lots of great Instagram accounts that relate to breathing. There's lots of resources available to help you breathe better. But I do what's called, what I used to call the 3-3-3 method, but I've actually modulated it recently because I've been doing a lot of research into meditation and breathing. And I've now adopted what's called the 3-4-5 method. So the 3-4-5 method in breathing is you breathe in for 3, you hold for 4, and then you breathe out for 5. And the reason you do that is actually much better in terms of actually really clearing gunk out of your system, clearing gunk out of your brain. It's just it is better than just doing the 3-3-3 method. I used to do breathe in 3, hold for 3, breathe out for 3, and I used to do that 3 times. And I'll do the 3-4-5 method, and I do it 3 times. Have we got time? Yes, I think we've got time. Let's just give that a go, shall we? So what I want you to do is I want you to breathe in for 3, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 5. And we're going to do it 3 times. So let's breathe in for 3, hold for 4, breathe out for 5. Breathe in for 3, hold for 4, breathe out for 5. Last time, breathe in for 3, hold for 4, and breathe out for 5. Wiggle your shoulders. How does that feel? It actually is incredibly calming to do that. So I challenge you to do that as often as you can, essentially. As people who've been on these calls before may have heard me say, you know, I do it on my way to work. I don't do it on the tube. I don't do it in highly polluted areas. I don't do it when, you know, with lots of cars rushing by. But if I can find a fairly clean space somewhere, I just do some breathing. Or if I wake up feeling frazzled, I do some breathing. If I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed, I do some breathing. Before I came on this call, I did some breathing. It's really easy to do and really can help you thrive. So those are my 5 key things when it comes to physical self-care. And if you don't get enough sleep, if you aren't hydrated, if you're eating badly, if you are not exercising enough, if you're panting and you're not really getting those long, slow, steady breaths, your ability to thrive is going to be compromised. It's quite scary how it can really throw you off kilter. So I challenge you to commit to those 5 things. And then the only other thing I talk about when I talk about sort of physical self-care is think about your posture. Because if you are slouching, first of all, you're doing damage to your back. Secondly, it's not great for your digestion. And thirdly, it's not a very empowering stance to be sitting at or standing at. Well, if you're standing with your shoulders back, your chin up, stomach pulled in, and strongly, you're going to feel that much more confident. And you're going to be doing your whole body, your joints, everything, so much of a favor. I know you've heard this all before, but it really is worth committing to. It's just making sure that you adopt what I call the warrior pose, that strong, empowered pose, because both physically and psychologically, it's a very useful place to be. So that's all I wanted to say on physical self-care. But always, if you want to thrive, always start with just some basics on the physical self-care. Because if we start letting those things slip, our ability to thrive emotionally and thrive mentally are going to be compromised. So they are beating you over the head on physical self-care, and I'm going through it quickly because I'm aware that we don't have a lot of time. So I want to talk about emotional self-care now, and I'm doing it. There were lots of different angles I could have come from, but I decided today, because we don't have a lot of time, that I was really going to talk about resilience, because resilience, particularly at the moment, is incredibly important. And resilience is one of those fabulous things that actually you can build. You're not born with a certain amount of resilience and that's it. We can actually, there are things that we can do and perspectives that we can adopt that are going to help us be more resilient. We can build our resilience. We can also let our resilience drain away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about sort of 3 key things that resilient people demonstrate, or resilient people have. And I think all of them are things that are worth all of us taking on board and looking at ways in which we can tweak ourselves into those positions. Because building resilience isn't as hard as people think it is. So the first key thing about resilience is that resilient people get that shit happens, excuse my language. So they get that bad things happen. They get that life is not the life that we see on people's Instagrams. It's not all beach parties or sunshine or glamorous outfits or fabulous parties or great gatherings or. Resilient people really understand that tough things can happen, and tough things happen to all of us. So they're very, very good at normalizing difficult situations. So if they are having a difficult time, they don't feel that they are the only person out there having a difficult time, because that's one of the traps less resilient people fall into, is they actually think that they are the only person who is feeling rubbish, or who is not going to parties, or who doesn't have as many friends, or doesn't have as nice a house, or isn't getting that promotion. So they start to feel a victim, or they feel persecuted against, or they feel that they are just terribly unlucky. While resilient people think this is tough, but there are other people having the situation and it's okay. So that's a key thing. And just every now and again, when really tough things happen, we have to go into what I would just describe as the brace position. So the brace position is what happens when you're on an airplane. I don't know if anybody's ever listened to the safety announcements on airplanes. I'm not very good at doing it, but we should really listen to it. And they talk about if there is a problem, the thing you need to do is you need to go into a brace position. So you cross your arms and you tuck your head down and you go down on your seat. So you have to brace yourself against whatever's coming your way. And resilient people get that every now and again they have to go into brace position, and they've got to ride through a tough time. That sometimes tough things happen and they've got to just get through it. And it's a very powerful perspective to have, embracing that you're not alone, that actually what you're going through is actually much more normal than you think it is. There will be other people going through it. You are not the only person. And that sometimes you just got to ride it out because tough things happen. So that's the first key thing that the resilient people demonstrate. The second key thing that people do, that resilient people demonstrate is, and I'm going to read this out because I've written it well and I want to share it with you. Resilient people are really good at choosing carefully where they select their attention. So they focus on the things they can change, and they accept the things they cannot change. In other words, they understand that there are some things. So we cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can control our reaction to it. So in other words, you have to work out what it is that you can control when a situation happens. So something really tough happens. Many times we can't stop that happening. So COVID, none of us could have foreseen it or could have stopped it happening. Yes, we can mitigate against it. You know, so we can now all wear masks, we can do what we're told, we can go into lockdown if necessary, whatever it is. But we can't control the fact that COVID happened. But the thing that you can control when it comes to COVID is your reaction to it. So how are you going to manage the situation? How are you going to make it as least problematic as possible in terms of your career, your business, your work, your life? So it's about controlling those reactions, not controlling the fact that what's happening. And resilient people are very good at that. They're very good at spotting what they can't control and then really focusing on what they can control. So they tend to be quite solution focused. They don't just go, they're not problem focused. So they don't just go, oh my God, this is a problem, this is a crisis, the world's going to end, I've got no control, it's all over. They go, I can't control this situation, but these are the things I can control around it. So they're people who found opportunities in this COVID situation. They're people who have reject their businesses in order to accommodate the new situation or the new normal. There are people who created different products in order to meet the differing needs of people in the new normal. There are all sorts of ways in which people have reacted to the COVID situation. And those people tend to be the resilient people because they are able to be solution focused. They are able to be more strategic, even when things are getting really tough. So that's the second thing that resilient people do. The third thing, and this is also a very important thing, resilient people ask themselves, is what I'm doing, is what I am doing or thinking helping or harming me? So when you react to something and you have a really strong reaction to it, resilient people, instead of, if you have a really sort of shocked reaction to something and you get really upset about something, resilient people stop and go, is this reaction helpful? Or is it harming me? So less resilient people go, this is just appalling. The sky's falling on my head. I'm going to lose my job. I'm going to lose my company. It's just a crisis. While resilient people will go, is that reaction helpful? Or do I actually need to start looking at ways in which I can mitigate against that? Do I need to start networking to see if there are other jobs available? Do I need to look and see if there's any way I can change my company? Do I need to look at if there's any funding out there for my company? So resilient people won't do what we call a self-fulfilling prophecy in psychology, where they have a bad reaction to something and then they decide that that's it. They get very black and white. So if they do what I would call catastrophize. So if one thing bad happens, they then say, well, if that happens, then this, and this is going to be happening, and it's all bad stuff. So if my boss has a tricky conversation with me, I immediately go into, well, I'm going to lose my job, and if I lose my job, I'm not going to pay my mortgage. If I don't pay my mortgage, I'm going to lose my house. If I lose my house, I'm going to be, on the streets, and I'll never get another job. Resilient people will go, that was a difficult conversation with my boss. How am I going to handle that conversation? And they don't go into that catastrophizing process. And it's very, very important, if you want to be resilient, that you decide whether your reaction is helping or harming you. So if you're going into a negative spiral, you need to say, stop, this is not helping me. This is harming me. This is not helping me get to where I want to be. This is going to turn into a very negative cycle if I carry on like this. And resilience people stop and go, no, I'm actually going to change the way I'm doing this. These aren't easy things to do, but it's very important that you know what resilient people can do and how they operate, because that is what you need to start doing. Alongside that, I would say that so that's what resilient people do. But there are a couple of other things that we need to do if we're going to nurture our ability to be resilient. So as I say, the one thing is to be solutions focused. But the other thing is to work on ways in which you can keep tweaking your perspective to a more positive perspective. So tweaking, training yourself to see things from a more positive perspective. Because of course, the more you see things from a positive perspective, the less likely you are going to have a very negative reaction when things get a little bit rocky. So what can we do to nurture our positive perspective? Well, there are a couple of things. I've got a couple of things, and I think I may well have mentioned it last time I was on this call. So I'm going to be repeating myself, but these are cornerstones to everything I do. So I'm going to tell you about them anyway. The first one is, if you want to be resilient, it's really helpful if you adopt what I call the balcony energy perspective. So in life, I talk about balcony and basement people. It's very basic stuff I'm talking about, but I think it's very powerful. Balcony people are people who take you to the balcony and they show you the view. They help you feel like the best version of yourself. They remind you of the most powerful, most successful, most resilient version of you, as opposed to basement people who take you down to the basement where it's dark and it's dank, and they're very good at helping you feel like the worst version of you. I also think they can often be cave dwellers, constantly against virtually everything. So basement people are a negative drip. They will erode your sense of self. They will erode your confidence. They will erode your resilience. So the challenge for you is to do two things. First of all, seek out and hang out with as many balcony people as you can, and make sure that you have a bit of balcony energy in most of your days, or in most days you have a bit of balcony energy. And then see what you can do to radiate balcony energy yourself. Because actually, the more positivity you give out there, the more you get back. And that has actually been proven by the professors of positive psychology. Various research projects have shown that. And in fact, Professor Seligman, who's one of the sort of key architects of positive psychology, he talks about random acts of kindness. That if you are kind towards somebody, it has a very positive impact on you for lots of reasons. First of all, if you're kind to somebody, it's a nice thing to do. Secondly, it makes you feel good about you. It reminds you of the best version of you. And thirdly, random acts of kindness actually make you live longer, has now been proven. The people who have a strong sense of community and commit to random acts of kindness and a couple of other things, they tend to actually live longer. So having some balcony energy, committing to random acts of kindness, those are very powerful ways in which you can keep yourself in a positive place. Various other things which I'm sure you've heard about in terms of keeping yourself in a positive place. One is the whole gratitude thing. So at the end of every day, writing a gratitude journal, or just as you go to sleep, think about the things that you are grateful for. And I would go beyond that and say it's not just about what you're grateful for, but actually think about the things that have gone well in your day. Don't think, because it's very easy for us to think about things we haven't done, as opposed to focusing on the things we have done. And both of those are very positive, empowering things. Both of those are going to strengthen your emotional well-being. They are going to help you be committed to emotional self-care. So gratitude, or thinking about the stuff you have done. The other little thing to do is that if you go to sleep thinking about that, you have a better chance of waking up in a slightly better space than if you go to sleep really feeling anxious or worried. So if you wake up feeling that little bit stronger, you need to decide what your day is going to look like. Because one of the things that we can all do is we can fall into the trap of thinking that, waking up and going, oh my God, I went to sleep thinking about all those things that I'm worried about. And now I've woken up thinking about them, and today is just going to be a bad day. I know this is going to be a bad day. If you decide your day is going to be a bad day, it's going to be a bad day. So give yourself the best shot about going, actually, today is going to be better. Today I'm going to notice the good stuff. Today I'm going to be grateful. Today I'm going to do some random acts of kindness. Today I'm going to get hold of that balcony energy friend, or that balcony energy colleague, or that balcony energy boss. I'm going to relate to them. So you decide, because again, resilient people, they decide what they can control. They decide where they're going to put their energy. It's in your control to do that. So that is incredibly helpful for you. So those are my things about sort of positive energy and finding that positivity, because positivity is going to help you be resilient. Positivity is going to help you stay emotionally strong. It's not always easy. And as I say, resilient people understand that shit happens. Resilient people accept that some bad stuff happens, but they don't try and control that bad stuff. They try and control their reaction to it. And then resilient people also make sure that they don't get into a spiral where they're doing stuff that is harming, not helping them. They notice when stuff is harming them. So that's my little piece on emotional self-care. How are we doing? We're getting through this quite quickly, which is great. I hope I'm not racing too quickly. Should I be looking at the Q&A section quickly? I'm just going to put up my screen and see if there's any Q&A coming up. There's one question thing. Yes. Now somebody has asked about the hardest thing over the past 5 minutes is that there is no separation between work and home now that we are working from home. I couldn't agree with you more, Randall. And funnily enough, that is what I'm going to be leaping into when it comes to mental self-care. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it there. And if that hasn't quite answered your question, we'll leap back into that. And please, if anybody else has got any questions, please fire them at me. That's what I'm here. That's what I'm here for. And as I say, I hope I'm not racing through this all too quickly, but I just want to make sure that I share as much as I can, but without overwhelming you all with all my enthusiasm about how best to thrive. Mental self-care. So I'm going to talk about the best way to nurture our mental focus and strengthen our strategic muscle. So how can we make sure that when we're at work, we are staying focused and we're staying strategic? I'm going to start with some basic stuff. I'm going to start with some basic ways in which we can nurture our mental focus. Some of this may be very obvious to you, but I'm just going to remind you of it anyway, because I think it's terribly important. There are just a couple of things that really can make a difference to our mental focus, especially if we have something that we need to do, if we need to do some short, sharp, mental focused work. The key thing I would say is make sure that you keep your, well, it's not the key thing, but the first thing I would say is make sure that you keep your desk as decluttered as possible. Now, I know that so many of us are working from home, and therefore our desks are often a bit of a compromise. And in fact, for the first 3 months of, or the first sort of 2.5 months of lockdown, I was staying in a tiny house because we were in the middle of moving. We had to move in the middle of lockdown. It was all very exciting. And my desk was on a chest of drawers in my bedroom. And it was great in many ways, actually, funny enough, because you can work anywhere if you decide it's going to be where you're going to work. The great thing about it was that actually at the end of every day, I had to pack everything away into a drawer, because I wasn't going to sleep with my desk right next to the chest drawers is right next to my bed. I wasn't going to sleep with all my work right next to my head. That was never going to happen. So I had to put it away every day. And then I'd bring it out every morning. And that was a wonderful way for me to keep it decluttered, to keep it neat, to keep it focused. So no matter where your desk is, if you can keep it neat and decluttered, that is hugely helpful if you want to stay focused. The other thing that is really helpful if you want to stay crisp and focused is to find as much structure in your day. And again, I know this has probably been told to you 1,000 times, you've all heard it before, but it actually really is a powerful thing to do, because when we were in the office environment, there tends to be more structure in our day, doesn't there? Because, we have a beginning, middle, and end to our days, or most of us do. I mean, I know there's some people out there who have to work ridiculous hours, but the majority of people have a beginning, middle, and end every day. So you catch the train or whatever at the same time every day. You have a break at lunch, even if it's a quick one, go to the same sandwich bar, and then you leave more or less at the same time every day. So there's a sort of automatic structure. I mean, during the day, there might be various meetings or whatever. So there's a sense of structure. When you're working from home, that is harder to do. So you need to do what you can to structure your day, to have a beginning, middle, and end to your day, to have moments when you are just focusing on work, have moments when if you aren't, when you are, loading the dishwasher, unloading the washing machine, going for your run, whatever. Structure your day. Because the more structure there is in your day, the more chance you've got of having focused moments. And when you've got moments when you really need to focus, so you've got to produce an important report, you need to do some blue sky thinking, it's very important as well that if at all possible, you close your office door or your bedroom door or whatever. Also, you turn off all notifications. You make sure that the notifications are switched off your phone, or your computer or whatever, because if we have stuff coming into us all the time, our ability to focus is really compromised. And I think sometimes we have a tendency, and it doesn't help us thrive, to treat everything that comes into us as a life or death situation. So everything almost gets equal importance. And that is a big trap we can all fall into. Because let's face it, most of us, I don't know if there are any brain surgeons on this call or any, cardiologists, but most of us are not dealing with life and death situations. We might be dealing with important stuff, but it's not a life and death situation. And if you start treating everything like a life and death situation, your ability to think clearly, to not get stressed, to not get overwhelmed is clearly very compromised. So just notice when everything is suddenly feeling too urgent all the time, because that's not going to help you to keep yourself focused. And I know you've all heard this before, but I really would suggest that if you possibly can, have a proper break or couple of breaks or 3 breaks during your day, because your ability to compromise over a sort of, 8, 10, 12-hour day is completely compromised if you don't take the odd decent break. And if you can go out and get some exercise or do something, or, go and run around the garden with your kids or whatever it is, do take a decent break in your day, because that is going to help you. And even during your working day, if you're sitting doing a report, take small breaks, even if it's just to do that 3, 4, 5 method of breathing, or you stand up and you stretch, or you walk on the desk, or you do some down dogs, yoga down dogs, or whatever, jumping jacks, whatever it is. Make sure that you just give yourself that break, because it's really important. And getting out and getting some exercise, of course, increases the blood flow to your brain. It's going to help you be more focused. So those are just the sort of the basics on basic things for mental focus. But let's just talk a little bit more about working from home and how we can separate our work and home life. Because what has been happening is there have been a couple of traps that people have fallen into. One is that their commuting times, the time it normally takes them to get into the office, they have filled with work. And so that there's a sort of merging. So suddenly our day, which was maybe 8 hours, is suddenly 10 hours. And then during the day, we're not necessarily as focused on our work life as we used to be. So we might wander off and load the dishwasher, do the washing machine, have a snack in the fridge, all those sort of things, which, I'm all for breaks, and I'm all for not relentlessly sitting at your desk, but just be careful, because those can be traps you can fall into, where suddenly you get to the end of the day and you haven't quite got to the things you wanted to get to. And then you're suddenly cramming it in and sitting at your desk until sort of, 10 o'clock at night. And then also you're going to sleep beating yourself up because you haven't achieved what you want to achieve. So the more structure you can pull in, the more you can try and create a separation, and just little things. Just little things like all the way through lockdown, I would get up in the morning, take a shower, get dressed, put some makeup on. Now, I'm not telling you all to wear makeup, but there's something about getting into your work clothes and things like, sports kits, trainers, sweatpants. I never wore those except if I was working out or beginning and end of the day. So what I would do at the end of my working day, I'd go and take another shower and change, or if I hadn't really moved much that day, I wouldn't take a shower, but I would change out of those clothes. So there are various things that you can put into place that helps you separate work from home. It's really important. And I can see somebody said something on the chat function, so I'm just going to read it. Yeah, we work more hours working from home than we did when we were in the office. Yeah, that's a big trap to fall into. I think, we can expand work into, as much as we like. So there's something about actually working in ways in which you don't do that to yourself. And you believe in yourself enough to say, no, I'm not doing that. And you make sure that you are strategic enough to do that. So let's just talk a little bit about being more strategic. How we can be more strategic so that we don't end up doing a whole lot of work, which at the end of the day we think, well, what was that all about? So in my training and the coaching that I do, etc., I talk about good, bad, and great work. So the bad work is that work that sucks you dry, that form filling, that it's form filling, it's attending a meeting that you don't really need to be at, but you felt obliged to go to. It's the kind of stuff that actually is a waste of time, but you sort of have to do it, so you go along and you sort of get on with it. And then there's good work. So good work is the work that is on your job description. It's the work that gets you paid at the end of every month. It's just you delivering. Great, nothing wrong with that. And most of us are quite good at avoiding the bad work or squeezing it and focusing on the good work. But the great work The great work is the work that will get you promoted. It's the great work is the work that will really make a difference. The great work is the work that will take your company to the next level, will take you to the next level. It'll take your team to the next level, whatever it is. So the great work is the strategically important work. And the challenge for us is to make sure that we get some great work done every single day. But the biggest challenge is to work out exactly what our great work is. Because some of us have a vague idea, some of us have a fairly clear idea. But actually, are we absolutely crystal clear on what our great work is? And have we checked in with our boss or colleague or business partner what the great work is? Because sometimes we make a sort of random decision and go, okay, that's my great work. So my great work is going to be writing a book. That's going to be my great work. And I think, yeah, great, I'll go off and I'll write a book. You know, I've got all sorts of interesting things to say. I'm going to write a book. But is that book really going to make a difference to me or to my clients or to anybody's life? You know, is it going to just be another self-help book? Is that really my great work? Or is my great work, I don't know, getting on some government policy discussion or working with a consulting and what the new normal is going to look, or consulting on what the new normal is going to be like. So there's something about getting real clarity on what your great work is, but make sure that you don't necessarily do it in a vacuum, because it's too easy for us to decide that this is our great work. But then it gets to the end of the year, or when you next have a, you know, feedback session, or you're next going to talk about promotion or a salary increase, and you discover that all this great work you've been doing isn't exactly the great work that your boss or your team or your business partner wanted you to do. And actually, if you're really going to go to the next level, your great work needs to be slightly different. So start creating a dialogue with whoever's going to be able to help you on what your great work is. That's the first key thing. And then we need to look at ways in which you can factor in getting that great work done. Because the great work is the stuff that's going to make your soul sing. It's the stuff that's going to make you feel alive. It's the stuff that's going to help you thrive. So if you can just do a little bit of that every single day, it's going to make a huge difference to how you feel about about your work. It's going to make a huge difference to the way you go to sleep at night. It's going to make a big difference to you feeling like the best version of yourself at work. So get out there and find that great work if you possibly can. What else did I want to say? I'm just going to have a quick look at my notes on, yes, this is my third key point when it comes to sort of mental focus. My first one, it was all about decluttering your desk, having structure, separating your work and your home life. My second point was work on what your great work is and get to that. My third point, and this is a really important point too, is all about clarity and simplicity. So keeping things as clear and simple as you possibly can. Einstein said, make things as simple as possible, but no simpler. Steve Jobs, I know not necessarily a very nice man, but certainly a genius in many ways. And I don't know if if you think of an Apple product, if you think about a Steve Jobs presentation about an Apple product, I don't know if you know anything about his presentations. Well, his presentations, when he did a presentation, he only ever had music, and then, or he only tended to have music, and then an Apple product on a screen behind him, which was turning slowly. So great sort of images, but he didn't have pages and pages of notes or lots of detail about the product. And it's the same thing, that if you get an Apple phone or an iPad or whatever, if you get any kind of Apple product, you don't get pages and pages of instructions, do you? And in fact, most people don't even read the little instruction booklets you might get. I mean, I don't think they do. I don't even know if they have instruction booklets, because the Apple products, you can work out how they work. So you just instinctively sort of know, don't you? And once you've got one Apple product, every other Apple product sort of kind of works in the same way. And the reason that that happens is Steve Jobs was very clear and simple. The Apple product is all about clarity and simplicity. It's all about joining the dots. It's all about instinctively it making sense. And there is real creativity in that. And I think sometimes we just get too muddled in our thinking. There's too many layers of thoughts. We're attending too many meetings where there are too many discussions going on that are getting too layered, too complex. There's something about working out what the key things is in everything. So clarity and simplicity is a very neat way for you to thrive. Because if you keep things clear and simple in your own head, if you keep things clear and simple in your communication, if you keep things clear and simple in your presentations, if you keep things clear and simple in your products, that can be hugely powerful. And again, that's going to help you be the best version of you. You have key messages, you have a key strapline, everybody knows what you stand for. All of those things are going to help you thrive. So I challenge you, if you want to be mentally focused and you want to keep your team mentally focused, or you want to keep your business mentally focused, or you want to keep your clients in tune with you, keep things as clear and simple as you can. There we go. So that was my sort of top tips on how to stay mentally focused and how to therefore help you thrive mentally. What I'm going to do is I'll try to look at the Q&A actually while I'm thinking about things. So there's been a couple of bits on the chat, and there's a question here. Do you have some more tips to be more sure what my great work is? And then I like that, first define your goals, somebody said. So that's lovely. That's a lovely response to that. Yes, working out what your great work is I think the first step is working out who you can talk to, who's going to help you clarify that. And then when you go in to talk to them, ask lots of questions. Don't talk at them. Ask them questions about what they think might be interesting for your great work. And then if you have some great work ideas, go and bounce them off other people. But again, this is my idea. What do you think? So you create dialogues around you about what your great work is. And I love that. First, define your goal. I mean, defining your goal is very helpful. It's a bit like defining your strapline. All of those can help you define what it is that you want to achieve and what your great work might be. Nobody else has asked any more questions. I got to talk. Does anybody have any questions they want to throw into the Q&A section or throw into the chat function? Anybody want to say anything or add anything? And I'm just going to look and see where we are. Oh, I'm just doing all sorts of terrible things. If not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the headlines of what I've been saying, just to remind you all, and then that will give you an opportunity or to ask more questions or add some notes or whatever. Or you can all go off and relax and have your supper or put your feet up or whatever it is. Take some time out. But yes, just a very quick rundown on everything I've been talking about today. So if we're going to thrive, the angle I've taken today is I've looked at physical self-care. I've looked at ways in which you can build your emotional self-care, and I've looked particularly at resilience there. And then I've looked at mental self-care, what it's going to take to help you stay mentally strong, focused, and strategic. On the physical self-care, it was sweeping that I talked about. So, commit to good sleep hygiene, stay as hydrated as you can, eat as well as you can, exercise as often as you can in whatever form that's going to work for you. Make sure you really commit to breathing, long, slow, steady breaths, because that will make a huge difference to your stress levels and your sense of overwhelm. And it's a 3-4-5 method. Breathe in for 3, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 5. And if you can do that 3 times as regularly as you can, that's really going to calm and ground you. And then just make sure that you keep that strong posture. That's going to help your digestion, your joints, your back, and it's going to make you feel strong and confident. Then your emotional self-care, we talked about resilience. Resilient people know, understand and appreciate that shit happens. We don't all live all the time Instagrammable lives. They focus on the things they can change, and accept the things they cannot change. And then resilient people ask themselves, whatever they are doing, is it helping me or is it harming me? And if I'm doing something or thinking something that is eroding me, I'm going to stop it. And then just remember, when it comes to emotional self-care, keep nurturing that positive perspective. Hang out with balcony people, commit to random acts of kindness, use a gratitude journal, or just be grateful. Try to be mindful of the things that are going well in your life. Notice the things that you have done. And then just you decide in the morning what your day is going to be like. Because if you decide in the morning that you're going to have a bad day, you will have a bad day. If you decide in the morning that actually you're going to focus on having a better day, there's a much better chance you will have a better day. And then finally, keep nurturing your mental focus by decluttering desks. Work from lists. I didn't mention lists. Lists can be hugely helpful. Switch off notifications when you're trying to get work done. Have a beginning, middle, and end to your day, even working from home. Separate your work life and your home life as much as you possibly can. Don't let your working day merge into your commuting time. Protect that commuting time. Make sure that you are very clear on what your great work is. Avoid the bad work. Get the good work done, and try and carve out a little bit of time every day for a bit of great work. And make sure that there's real clarity on what your great work is. You define your goals first, whatever, that's great. And just try and create as much of a dialogue as you can with the people who really count in terms of your great work. And then finally, keep things as clear and as simple as possible. Because the more clarity and simplicity you have in your working life, the more you're just going to get stuff done, and the more you're going to get the really important stuff done. To try and avoid overlayering stuff, overcomplicating stuff, too many words, presentations that are too wordy, meetings that go on for too long that are too wordy, that don't go anywhere, meetings about meetings. It's all about clarity and simplicity, getting to the essence of things. Because if you get to the essence of things, you're going to be mentally focused, you're going to be sharp, and you're going to get that great work done. So that's me pounding away at you. I'm sure I've exhausted you all completely, but I see that there is another question. Could you give some more examples of great work we can do in daily flow? Yes. So, for instance, you're selling a certain product, but you actually think that you should be looking at other products, is doing research on that other product, or if you are it's doing the things that are going to take your business to the next level or take you to the next level. So my great work is researching new content to share with people. It's networking with people so that I can be networked with other professionals like that I'm in the space that I'm working in. Contacting people where I can have a really senior conversation. Those are the sort of great work. My normal day-to-day work is delivering coaching sessions, it's delivering training, it's doing my invoicing, that's the bad work, that's the suck me dry work. It's contacting clients to get them in the diary, that's my good work, that's what gets me paid. My great work is what is going to be the next thing. So it's all about what's next, where am I going, where am I taking this business? So that's what your great work is, and I try every day to either reach out to somebody or do some research or write a new talk or send details of a new talk to somebody. So that's all the stuff that's going to get me out there, get me to the next level. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So, great work doesn't have to be, oops, my computer's about to collapse on me. Great work doesn't have to be the stuff that actually, is going to change the world, but it's the stuff that's going to take you to the next level, and you need to chunk it into little pieces as much as you can. So that is my little bit on great work. And I see that there is another little bit of chat going there. That's just somebody saying thank you. Well, that's, oh, somebody said thank you. So thank you for responding. We've only got 4 minutes left. So I think you probably all want to retire, don't you? I'm sure you will have more than enough. But thank you all of you for coming. It's been really, really lovely to be able to talk to you all. And it's a strange new world we live in when I'm talking at you. Oh my, what is happening to my machine? It's collapsing on me. I'm working off an iPad Pro. I like Apple products, but sometimes. It's been really lovely to talk to you in the strange new normal that we're in. I've not, of course, seen any of your faces or anything, but please get in touch. You know, this is what I do for a living. So if anybody needs some coaching or needs me to come in, talk to them about, you know, training for their businesses, or wants to talk about corporate well-being, or wants to hear my views on, you know, the new normal or whatever, please get in touch. If I can help you, I certainly will. And no request is too small or hopefully too big. So please get in touch, and I'd love to hear from you all. But yes, I think we are done. We've got 2 more minutes left. Does anybody want to say anything more, or are you all retiring? You're all welcome to retire, and I can switch off. We can switch off the recording and go from there. I think we're probably done. But thank you so much, everybody, and it's been really, really lovely to have you all. All good wishes, and as I say, keep in touch. Get hold of me on LinkedIn or my website or Instagram or whatever it is that is your thing. As I said, I'd love to hear from you all. And I think we can probably switch off the recording now, because I know a few people might want to come in and listen to this recording at some stage. So let me see if I can get that recording switched off. But yeah, all good wishes, everybody.